Andy, and I can't thank you enough for organizing this, for all the wonderful panelists and participants. I had a PowerPoint presentation, but I will not share it to avoid any problems. I feel like with Lubna's example, it's better not to. Is that okay?
Yes, it's fine. I think we're eager to hear your words, and maybe we could send the PowerPoint as collateral afterwards.
Oh, that's wonderful. So as Faga and Lubna did their presentation, I find myself veering away from what I had in mind, and I had a different start, but I will start with this. I learned from Vaga that now there is a concentration of a MENA population in Glendale. That's a 40%. I know Glendale. We all know Glendale. The vast majority of Glendale population, perhaps, or the MENA people, are Armenians. So Armenia, when you look at the designation in the census, really is not included in the Middle East, and not many people would include them in their studies. Armenians affiliate more so with Armenia. And if they affiliate with other groups, it could be Lebanon, Iranians, or other places. So it's a bit very problematic. The second thing that I heard was from Lubna, which is an amazing presentation. I'm very familiar with Lubna's work, and thank you. It's really a pleasure sharing this panel with you. That too gives us a historical perspective, and we could see the struggle of the community of the Arab Americans, of the MENA region, and all of that. And the third related to that is the very concept of the MENA is very complex. And it varies from one person to another, from one study to another. For us, as a community, to come and say, we are going to encourage people to express themselves and their identity, and also to focus on the Arab American is a step in the right direction. This is one way of being inclusive rather than exclusive. Let me then get back. So those are the 2 points, and I'm so thankful for the good presentation you had, Lubna, and Vega, for your wonderful work in the area. For me, this is the first time I do the census. Now, I'm from Algeria, from North Africa. So I did this back home many years ago. In fact, I worked on census gathering statistics when I was a student. So I'm very familiar with that. I know very well. So I was very, very excited about filling out and filling in the forms and finding myself where I check in as a transparency. I'm a political science professor. I taught cultural pluralism. I know what census is all about. It's power distribution, all of that. So I was really prepared for the ideas to express my opinion, to see where I fit and whether this is an opportunity for us as Arab American or Middle Eastern men, as whoever we are, to put our fingers or our identity there up front. So it was very, very important. But it poses a real problem for me, because here I am from what you call a MENA region. I'm from Northern Africa. There is a big distinction between North Africa, which we see in the census, and Northern Africa. North Africa is a concept that the French gave to the 3 countries, Tunisia, Morocco, and Algeria, that they colonized. So it doesn't include Libya nor Egypt. But I said, look, everybody's saying North Africa, it's already there, so I'm okay with that. So I'm a Northern African. The other thing is that I'm white. So I could be also, I have another choice. I could be with white, I could be with Northern African. And then the third thing is that North Africa is actually in Africa. And what beautiful things. I could be an African American. So the census presented a place for me to self-identify and understand it and use it for my own benefit. And with the background of a political scientist, power distribution, how this fit, it was a great opportunity for me to sort of express my view and participate. And we did all of that for the benefit of the community and so on. So I started on the census, and the first question was about, that April the 1st. And it's in the past tense. The question is asked how many people were living or staying in your house, apartment, or so on April 1st. It puzzled me as a political scientist and someone who worries about how grammatically things are structured. This sentence is in the past tense. The second thing, it's April 1st. This is April Fool. I understand there is a limit, there is behind it, why April 1st is designated, but the significance is very, very important because we are given a specific date to determine what kind of place, how many people were staying. Now, I went on, I'm alone. I could argue with that. You know, a few days before April 1st, I was living with somebody, that person left, we're still in that in and out relationship. So I don't know what to put, but that's beyond the point. What interests me most and how it relates to my background is the next question. The next question talks about how many people pay rents. Of those people who are staying with you, the payment as a rent as another indicator of counting people. We all know the people from my region, when you invite your relative, they don't pay rents. And then I'm not talking about the DACA people, I'm not talking about other things, but it's a very biased question in itself. But I went through that. I swallowed all my pride and so on and so forth. Until comes question 8, or the question that talks specifically about, ethnicity. And here, all the learning in my teaching, all the social and the sociological reading that I did really messed me up. There is no sense in how the census defines race and ethnicity that is acceptable academically, or to the students that we teach or the people we do. On race, it defines it, and this is on the census, it defines as self-identification. Well, what we learn in the class, and I know this, and Dr. Lubna will tell you this, there's a huge debate there, but race is usually associated with biological, physical differences. Race is not about self-identification. Ethnicity is about self-identification. You self-identify who you are by your culture and how you relate to that culture. And it's a very, very important distinction. So academician will tell you, but common sense also tells you. What's very important, question 8, is that I find out that ethnicity, my ethnicity is now defined by whether I am Hispanic or not. Well, for God's sake, was it just Hispanic? Why not African American? Why not? What is straightforward question? What is your ethnicity? And list the categories. And yes, Dr. Lubna did not like the idea of adding others. I agree, but add others there. It's fine with it. So the self-identification in relation to another ethnic groups puzzled me. And it speaks volume about perhaps where are we going with this identity? We all know that American society is moving toward, a more minority-majority thing than anything else. So I understand the politics behind it, but it doesn't describe accurately where I fit in. So I moved on that. And then came the next question, which makes it very, very difficult with me. This is where the question is about asking my race. Never mind that I have questions with race, and that to me is more ethnicity, the self-identification than anything else, but it gives me several categories. And where the categories are very clear, the number 1 category is white. Well, under the census, US Census list of origins, that white group include European, Middle East, and North Africa. So, and there are huge problems there, in particular when it comes to, I told you about North African, that's more perhaps my bias as a post-colonial kid who doesn't believe in colonialism, and he believes that North Africa concept was biased, but let's put that aside. The Middle East concept itself, when we talk about the Middle East, include Egypt. So North Africa, where does it fit there? So you go to the white, so it includes, to debate a little bit, white, so include Europe, Middle East, and North Africa. When you go to the question, the box, it has their white, and then it includes Lebanese and Egyptian. So for me, that eliminates that whole idea of white being from Africa and that, I have a white skin. So that privilege that I have gotten by being white is eliminated. So I thought I'd move to box number 2, which is Black or African. And this is really poses a serious problem because it speaks volume to how we define this, the census, the terms we use. So we went from a designation of color, white, black, yellow, whatever, to now geographical destinations. And I'm wondering, why is it geographical destination or identification is good only when it talks about minorities? Why not? Europeans, European American, and I would have been great with that, or African American. So no, but we shifted to that. So that's my second problem is that the African American. And here it poses a serious question. And I'm speaking now, not as a sort of, I'm trying to undermine and not understand the value of African American and why it was introduced by Jesse Jackson and others in the 80s. I'm fully aware of that. I taught it in the classroom, so I am understanding it. But I don't understand I also want to depoliticize that concept, because for the mere fact, if you're telling me African American is someone from Africa who is born in Africa and is black can be considered as African American, well, I'm Algerian in North Africa, so I fill in that box as African American. In fact, my connection to Africans is better perhaps, or allow me to say, more than African American who is here in this country. I connect with the Africans, I work with the African, I do all of that. So my association to the African and to use the African American concept was really suited for me as well, and I liked it. So I have 2 more minutes, Sandra. And then, when you move on, so that's one problem. And then the other problem that is very, very interesting, and this is all points to undermine the value of our identity. When you look at the American Indians, and here we shift into sort of the native populations. And again, North Africa has its own native populations. But the point from here, from all these categories, is that we are leaning towards more what the work that Dr. Lubna is working, Vaka is talking about, Dr. Sandy Close is working, is about this idea of we using this sense to self-identify, to make us stronger. What the census of 2020 gave me no identity. It doesn't it promotes segregation, fragmentation, and I am puzzled by the fact that there are categories there, and the work that Dr. Lubna is doing, that Vaga is doing, by finding in that census something that could be sort of useful and productive to the MENA region. So from several perspectives, academically or in terms of activism, believing in the concept, this is a good start. I think for the 2030, we could be in much better position. The fact that the concept is now introduced, that there are some categories, some problems with this is perhaps something that we can continue working with. I think I am 2 minutes off time. Sandy, thank you so much.
Well,